Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're opening up your first 3D printer. Kind of. Welcome back everyone. My name's Andrew, this is Make and Break It YouTube channel. I have my Make and Break t-shirt on underneath, but it's late and it's cold because I live in the north. So we need to keep a little bit warmer here today. On today's episode of 3D Printing Basics, I guess, or maybe, yeah, we'll probably throw this in 3D Printing Basics. We're opening up a new 3D printer, and this is a 3D printer I purchased off of Amazon. It's a widely used 3D printer. It's a pretty good intro 3D printer that gives you a lot of capabilities, at least when it comes to using material like PLA, which is the vast majority of the material I have here right now. I purchased it because one, it'd be nice to show you guys what an entry-level 3D printer looks like, what you have to go through to get it up and running, and kind of some of the issues with them. Also, I need a printer that is not as capable as my Raise 3D that's in there right now, printing some support stuff for storing engines and things like that. But something that can do a lot of what it can do and take all the PLA printing off of the Raise 3D, because that thing is built to print out of much more durable and difficult plastics, polycarbonates, nylons, that sort of thing. And if I can offload all of my PLA printing onto a different 3D printer, then even better. So kind of the idea here with this is I'm actually coming in pretty cold on it, other than knowing what it is and kind of how popular this printer is. I'm coming in kind of cold, and like you guys might, on your first 3D printer. So we're gonna pop this thing open for you guys. This one specifically requires, I believe, a little bit of assembly, so hopefully we don't screw that up. And then start showing you how to take advantage of a pretty affordable printer. First things first, let's get this opener and I'll show you guys what we're dealing with here. Had to swap this thing over to my other side, my normal fab workbench, because the engine and transmission are not yet moved out of the way. So let's cut this thing open. So what this printer is, this is a Creality CR-10. Find it readily accessible in pretty much anywhere you buy 3D printers. I bought this one off of Amazon, and believe it or not, by the time this video is up, I think I've gotten my life together enough to put Amazon links in the descriptions and stuff like that. So if you like some of the stuff that you see here, you can follow the links down below. I will get a little bit of a commission if you follow them and buy something through Amazon through those links. But if you follow those links, I'll take you to some of the parts and pieces and tools we use, and hopefully they serve you as well as they do us. I do love the Amazon box within a box here. Man down. So you can kind of see what we're getting into here. This is the Creality CR-10. It's one of these truss style printers. It's open, unlike the 3D printer, my Raise 3D one in there, which is closed, which makes it very useful for a lot of different materials. These open printers have some more material restrictions, but this one's entirely capable, and it's quite large for its price. You can get this on Amazon. I think I paid around $350 or $370. Something along those lines. And that's pretty inexpensive for a printer with a print volume of 12 by 12 by 15 and a half, I think, is the print volume here. So it at least lets me print with the same footprint as my Raise 3D, so I can design with either of those printers in mind. And then the Raise 3D will only really need to print PLA anymore. when there's a specific concern for warpage, or if it's just taller, like that one, the Raise 3D still got another 9 inches of print volume height. So if we open this up here, looks like we're opening up straight into some of the parts and components. Let's see what's... Okay, so you open up into the bed gantry here. This is a semi-assembled kit, I do believe. So you're gonna have to do a little bit of assembly yourself. This is your first piece. This is the base of your gantry that we're gonna go open up here. And get this out of the way. We'll set this over here for now. Get these boxes out of the way. This will get us to our top part of the gantry system here. Down in here is a box with all your pieces, parts, power cords, small pieces. You got a box of tools in here, so you're probably gonna have to read this instruction manual at some point. Oh, and it looks like they give you a little bit of test filament, which is nice of them. It allows you to test and validate that your machine is working. Most 3D printers will give you a little bit of test filament and then maybe a test model to go run and make sure that your 3D printer is working as intended. So that's good. All pretty good quality so far. I'm not seeing anything horrific, and materials seem pretty decent. Cool. Get this out of the way. Also, this is some really good foam in here, so whoever packs this stuff is doing a good job. It's nice of them to bring tape. I'm not entirely certain what that's for, but nice of them to send me some Chinese tape. Pull this. This is the control unit and upper gantry unit. So before we go get into this and I read what we're actually supposed to do here, first thing you do when you open up anything like this, especially since it'll get shipped via Amazon, who sometimes does a good job shipping, you want to check the condition of your received parts. So, electronics in a 3D printer are not complex. They're usually just switches and stepper motors and things like that. But you do want to check their condition. So take a quick check before you start pulling everything out. Make sure everything looks like it's in decent condition. Make sure your limit switches look like they're seated properly and okay. You have a bunch of connections here that we're going to make in a second. Okay, that's nice to see. They did pack some extra foam in here on this vertical lead screw. So actually how this thing is installed is installed like this over top of this plate. Something like that. And then this is the head that moves around and this plate moves in this direction. So the head will move, for instance, left and right. The plate will move forward and back, and then this whole arm will go up and down. And that's how this one positions itself. Everything looks to be in pretty good condition on the extruder, which is nice. Yeah, this is looking pretty good so far. I wonder where this all... Oh, I know where this all hooks in. That's where those braces are for. Okay. Take a quick second and read this manual, and we'll come right back to you guys. So these are all of the pieces, not this, or that, but all the rest of this are the pieces that come in the box for you when you get a printer like this. And most printers that come mostly pre-assembled will have a similar set of pieces. So your major components, you got your lower frame assembly. This is your heated bed. This is a glass bed and I've taken the plastic off. Comes plastic on both sides. The printer also comes with these. These are supposed to be tape. These are some tape stickers, and that's a roll of tape. You shouldn't need to use these. If you need to use something, use a glue. Don't use this tape. It'll make your life worse than it needs to be, so throw these out. That didn't work. Your other major components, you have your upper frame assembly. This has your print head, a lot of your stepper motors, and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So this one will end up going onto this piece here. There's some holes here and here that you'll bolt up. I'll show you guys that in a minute. And then this is your control unit. So this has all the wires coming out of it to the various sensors and motors, as well as the plugins for the drivers and everything else. So these are your main big components. It'll also come with a bunch of smaller pieces. So they do give you some zip ties if you want to cable manage. I'm terrible about doing that, so we probably won't do that. These are some structural support pieces for the sides here for this connection from here to here. You put those in there, and I'll show you guys how to do that. This is your material holder. So this goes on top here. This will stick out one side of it, and that's what you put your spools on. It's big enough for 1 kilogram spools, it looks like. Probably not big enough for 5 kilogram spools, but those are hard to find anyway. You also get a bunch of tools. So these are your assembly and maintenance tools here. Things like wrenches for your hot end, wrenches for the wheels. They give you an Allen wrench set, and then a little screwdriver for all your pieces. These are all the screws that you need to assemble this thing. So 4 screws for putting this thing on, and then a couple finger screws for installing this. And they give you a couple tools to get started. This is a scraper. It's supposed to help you get off the prints from the print bed. These are some side cutters, help you with clipping your material before it goes into the hot end. I'll show you where and why. And then this little thing is a cleaning thing. So if you do you see in this? No. So it's basically just a cleaning brush. Stick it through the hot end if you need to, and that's what it's there for. So they give you a pretty good starter package here. There's some stuff on the side that's and they give you this, which is a USB reader, card reader with a little micro SD. Micro SD has some already pre-sliced files on there, as well as some CAD models if you want to just print some of the things they have. Over here to the left is a couple things that you don't absolutely need to use, but it's nice that they shoot them to you. This is like decorative stuff for going in these little channels, so you can make your thing look orange if you want. This is a spare Bowden tube setup. This is what guides your filament between the drive motor and the print head. Got spare parts, spare screws, spare nozzles, things like that, spare parts. And then they helpfully include a USB type A to type B connector here, I think, in case you need it for attaching your computer to the control piece. And that's pretty much it. So we're gonna go throw this together. It's gonna be pretty quick, I hope, and we'll try and show you guys how it goes. Okay, so first things first, you want to bring over your base Make sure you're not getting anything crushed or anything. Let's see if we can't get that in the shot a little bit here. Sorry for the terrible backgrounds. Working with what we got here. First things first, when you get this, make sure this is fairly tight. A little bit of wiggle won't really hurt, but if this thing's wobbling all over the place, you're gonna want to get underneath here and adjust these wheels so they are engaged more here. If you need to adjust your tension on your belt, this seems okay for now. Might be need to adjust a little bit. There's some screws right here. Just loosen this one up, and you can adjust this side so that it tightens up the belt a little bit, so there's less. Actually, this one I am going to tighten up real quick. So these are pretty close out of the box, but this one does need to be tightened a little bit. Let's see if we can't find the right. That's better. So you want to grab the 4 longer bolts from your little bolt collection here. They should come with a little spring washer on them, and you'll use that to install this thing. So a couple things to note when you're installing this. First, don't forget to pull all the zip ties that they installed for shipping. Second, the facing. So this hot end should be facing the front where you have the adjustment on the belt. It should not be on the back where the stepper motor is. So this stuff should be like this, somewhere in here. And probably the easiest way is just sling this off the table. Put a bolt up. And the thing you want to remember about these bolts is these are the strength members. They're not necessarily the best alignment tools. So you probably want to leave them a little loose. Not this loose, but a little loose until you get the side plates on, which are the next things that are going to go on here. Not sure if I like that free floatingness about this. Okay, so next, before you tighten everything down too much there, I want to get these side plates. So there's 2 different side plates, and if you've ever worked with aluminum extrusion like this, you'll recognize them. So they have these T-pieces here, and then this little T-piece with an extra added sensor. So the regular one will go on this side, so if you're looking at the front of it, it'll go on the right side, and that's there just as a strengthening piece. This one with the added sensor will go on the left side, kind of where all of this electronical stuff is, and that'll actually create the last little limit switch here for the machine. So when it homes itself, it'll home to this limit switch. So the easiest way to do that, if you see these things, they have these little slots. They slide into a T slot. Let's see if you can see that. So you align it with the slot, and as you tighten it, it'll turn and lock into the slot. So that's kind of the basic idea. Pretty simple. Sometimes a pain to deal with. Oh, don't forget to retighten before you continue on, because it's a really good way to screw up your level. And that's pretty much it for the assembly. This thing's really easy to assemble. It's a 90% assembled kit or something like that. So if you can spin a couple bolts in, you're good to go. So the next thing is hooking up your power source here. That's where this thing comes in. So this thing has a bunch of wires coming out the back of it, and these are all the switch and driver wires. These are handy in that they bundle them by location. So for instance, the x-axis has one sensor, two sensor, a couple drivers there. Yeah, that makes sense why. Z-axis has a couple, so they bundle them by location. So you literally just got to find your locations here. You know, your X, your X, which is down here, your Y's, which are back here, and your Z's, which are up here. Locate all of those and put your pieces on, and off you go. So there's only a couple more connections, and they just go into the back here of our power board. So this is our main power unit. There's a 4-pin connector here, and then I think this is an 8-pin. They correspond to the two power drives from the heater for the bed and the actual heater for the print head. So get those, connect those, and then this is your power connection. But before you hook up your power connection, you want to adjust one more thing. So this is a 110 or a 220 unit, so it can run on either depending on what country, because they don't know who they're going to sell it to. So there's this little red thing in here. You want to make sure it's showing the voltage for your country. In America, that's 110, or in this case they call it 115 because of our voltage issues. In a lot of places in Europe, it's 230 volts. So you should know your country's voltage. Just make sure this thing is flipped to the correct voltage, or you can fry something if you're on the wrong. And then just go ahead and put on your material holders. So we're all connected, everything's hooked up. I don't think anything's gonna run to each other, so we'll see how it goes. So once you get your voltage, go ahead and turn it around. And so far nothing's exploded, so that's a good start. Alright, so at this point, apparently we can't physically jog this. I would prefer to be able to like physically jog the location, make sure everything's hooked up correctly. But what we'll go do is prepare. We'll go to auto home. So this should home everything. So home is like the 0 position. So essentially puts it at the farthest forward. What we want to do now at this point is actually level everything. So we know at home, so vertically it's at 0. So we're going to turn this thing off and then start doing our leveling process, which should free up the stepper motors for us here. Okay, perfect. So leveling's actually pretty easy. If you look at the manual for this thing, all you need to do is take a piece of paper. It's roughly equivalent to about 3/1000. So if you have a feeler gauge, you can use a feeler gauge. I'm gonna go use a piece of paper because it's easy, and I don't really want to bust out the feeler gauges wherever those are. And you check it in all 4 corners, and you want to get this thing set so that the paper just drags on the bottom of the nozzle here for the hot end. And so you just do that kind of like you do a feeler gauge. So you just get it set up and run the paper under it. There's adjustment knobs at each corner so that you can adjust everything up and down on the bed until everything's level and all 4 corners have about the right feel. And at that point, my suggestion for you is to check a couple other places on the bed, and that'll validate that your bed, in this case this piece of glass, but you have whatever you have that you're going to print on, that'll validate your print surface is flat itself. You're not going to have some weird bubbles or something like that. So I'm going to go do that. Yeah, let's go do that. Alright, our bed is pretty level. The glass is not perfectly level, I noticed, but it's pretty close, and there's definitely an air gap everywhere. And it seems to be locally pretty level, so as long as we're not right now printing all over the entire surface, we're not going to have any issues, I don't think. Last thing to do before you power on to start doing your material load and test prints is to actually put your micro SD card in. I do believe that this machine will not read a micro SD card if you put it in while it's powered on. So you got to power it off, then put your SD card in, then put it back on. Oh, there they are. Hiding down by the engine. So we're gonna get to the material adding. So first thing you do, a lot of material will come like this. I'm gonna pull it off the rack here to show you real quick. It'll come in and it'll be like bent like this. This doesn't like to go through most Bowden extruders, which is what this style of extruder is, very well. So you do just want to cut it here and cut it at a bit of an angle so it'll help itself get into the actual heater nozzle. Kind of like that. And at this point, you're going to want to, on the back side here, there is a little spring-loaded mechanism. That's where the drive mechanism is for this. Open up that spring mechanism and put your filament through the drive gear. And then before you get it all the way into the mechanism, you're actually want to preheat preheat your extruder to the temperature of the material you're putting in. This is PLA, so I'll preheat it to, this thing actually has a preset preheat for PLA, but you want to do it about 200 to 205 degrees. So we're just going to use the preset here. This preheat's set at 185, that's enough. You basically want to be able to melt the PLA into the hot end here. That's basically the idea. So, alright, so we've hit our preheat, so we just continue feeding until we see filament, white filament, come out the nozzle end here. So we finally got some stuff coming out of the nozzle here. Now we're going to start our print, and it's really easy. We have our SD card in here, so we're gonna go in down here. In this case, you print from SD, and then I feel like we're gonna print the cat. So, cat's one of the preloaded G-code files in here. It's actually the same cat that we printed as a test print off of our Monoprice Select V3 Mini or whatever it is in there. And so we'll be able to side-by-side compare some of the quality, out-of-the-box quality of these printers. So I think that's about it for today. We weren't super successful. You can see all the pucks that are the beginnings of cats that we never quite finished. Bed adhesion issues. These are common out-of-the-box problems for a printer like this Creality CR-10 and everything else that's kind of more on the DIY side or the entry-level side. So that'll be fun, and we'll troubleshoot this thing live with you guys. So always more content, right? If you like this printer, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, and you want to help support the channel, there are links in the description down below to this and other stuff we use in this video and around the channel. If you follow those and buy something, I can get a commission from Amazon or whoever the link is from. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, check it out, and it helps us out. But thanks for watching again. My name's Andrew, and this is another 3D Printing Basics on the Make and Break It YouTube channel. If you like this video, hit like. Comment down below if you have suggestions for upgrades and stuff you want to see from this or any other 3D printing or stuff around the channel. If I missed something, do yell at me, because that's what the internet's for. If you like what we're doing this channel, we got 3D printing stuff like 3D printing basics, CAD design work, motorsports projects, we got car builds and motorcycle builds. If any of that stuff sounds interesting, check it out, subscribe, and watch all the videos, because I make them for you guys. So thanks for watching, everyone. My name's Andrew, and until next time, we'll catch you later.